So you want to talk to a lawyer. Maybe you think it's time to hire a lawyer. But how do you find a good lawyer? Well, it's not as easy as it should seem, and there's actually a lot to think about, a lot to keep in mind. As a person who's gone through this process twice, I want to give you several things to think about, starting with this fact, this reality. When you're talking about a case involving a potential medical error, medical malpractice case, this area of the law has actually become very, very specialized. Medical malpractice, personal injury law has become very specialized. And the attorneys who are really, really good at this, the ones you want representing you, they are literally specialists. This often is the majority of their practice. It may be the only thing they do. And I really encourage you to find one of these specialists because they're going to have the technical know-how to understand your case, and they are going to have the resources to pursue your case. This is compared to what I'll call a generalist. A generalist being an attorney who does many different things in the law, from wills and trusts to criminal defense and DUI, and also personal injury law. Now, I'm not meaning to disparage attorneys who you would call generalists. A lot of fine attorneys in that area, and you may in fact find a lawyer who's a generalist who can do a good job for you, and I wish you nothing but the best. But I think your best chance for success is to find one of these specialists. Now, this leads me to the second point I want you to keep in mind. A lot of times, the really good personal injury lawyers, the ones you want representing you or your family, don't advertise. They don't advertise. You won't find them on a TV, on a billboard. You won't find them on the back of a phone book. They don't advertise, other than maybe having a website. Their reputation is strong enough. They're that well known in the community that their reputation alone brings plenty of work in the door. So how do you find one of these specialists? You got to beat the bushes a little bit. You got to do some networking, especially if you have some friends or family that work in or around the legal field. If you know a lawyer, if you know a paralegal, they can tell you who the good ones are. They can give you one or more names to go talk to. If you have a lawyer that has done work for your family, maybe help you with your will or your trust, maybe help you with your divorce, maybe did some real estate transactions for you, whatever, talk to that person. They can also make some referrals for you too. So look for a specialist and do some networking to find one of these specialists. But before you step foot in any lawyer's office, and talk to any lawyer about your case, have yourself organized. Have all your ducks in a row, because you don't want to be that rambling, incoherent client incoherent potential client, that just goes on and on and on and on and on. And there's no logic or thought pattern to this rambling. And it never has a conclusion or end because it just keeps going on and on and on. Busy, overworked lawyers don't have time for this. And they're going to view somebody like that as a headache waiting to happen that's just going to do nothing but drain time from their other clients. And, you need to understand something. The good medical malpractice attorneys actually reject about 98 to 99% of the cases that come on the door. So let me help you understand. Every 100 cases that come in the door, the good ones, and I've talked to plenty of these attorneys, reject 99 to 98 of these cases. They only take 1 or 2 cases for every 100 that come in. Now, my family's filed 2 claims. What's the secret to being part of that elite 1%, if you will? Being organized. Being organized. Have your stuff together. We talked in earlier videos and earlier parts of the ebook, Did the Doctor Make a Mistake, about having a journal, being date and time specific, having lots of details and information. Well, you need to get all that stuff. You need to get all your ducks in a row. You need to get the medical record if you can. You need to have it all. You need to get there as much as you can, and you just need to lay it out from start to finish, what happened, what didn't happen, and why you have a case. And if you're not good at telling stories, if you're not good at organizing things and writing things down, you want to give them a summary they can look at after you leave. If you're not good at writing like that, get some help. Get some help, because ultimately you've got to sell yourself and sell your case. Now here's and part of selling yourself and selling your case is think like a lawyer. Think like a lawyer. A lawyer is going to look for a couple things. One, was there a mistake? Was there a potential medical error here? And you need to be able to organize the facts and the information you have to start leading them down that path. The other thing they're going to look at that's very important is they're going to ask themselves, what kind of damages? What kind of damages are here? Again, personal injury law is many things, including a business, and they need to see there are enough damages to not only get you some money, but also get themselves paid and get their expenses covered. If there's not enough damages, there probably won't be a case. So you need to think about what's the value here. Your husband's dead. You have 2 small children at home. You're a stay-at-home mom. Okay, what was his earning? What was he earning? What was his earning potential? Can you give us the last couple of years' tax returns? Wow, that's some great information. Hate to sound cold and calculating, but this is how it's thought about. If, for example, you're talking about a scar in someone's face, well, it's one thing if that scar is on the face of a model or a TV news anchor. Wow, that could have a lot of potential if that scar was caused by a medical error. If, however, the scar was caused by a potential medical error, happens on the face of a welder or an auto mechanic or some other blue-collar worker, maybe not so much value, because, to be frank, the mechanic's boss really doesn't care what he looks like so long as the car gets fixed. Now, however, if there's a potential medical error that leads to nerve damage in the mechanic's hands, and he or she may not be able to do their job, and they got small children at home that are counting on that paycheck every other Friday, we may have some value there, some real value there. So you got to think about those things. You got to have your case organized. You got to think like a lawyer. Was there a mistake? If so, what are the potential damages? And here's a tip. Here's a very important tip. Don't go waltzing into a lawyer's office and pulling up a chair and saying, how much is my case worth? How much am I going to get out of this case? How much money am I going to make? Because that can be very off-putting to a lawyer. In fact, it can be very insulting to them. Yes, lawyers are business people. Yes, they have to think about damages and money. But good personal injury lawyers really honestly view their work as a much higher calling. They believe, and rightly so, that they are ultimately in the business of helping people, helping good people who've been wronged, helping those people get through those difficult moments, and being able to move forward with their life. And if you come across as just some, greedy pig, it's going to be a turnoff to them. And I hate to use such frank words, but we're ultimately, this is not time to mince words. You've got to be thoughtful about this. It's okay to think about the value of your case. It's okay to ask about the value of your case, but you have to have some tact. It shouldn't be the first words out of your mouth. In fact, a lot of lawyers will say, "Why are you here?" And you need to be thoughtful about it. You really need to be thoughtful about it. And you may talk about, you're looking for answers, you're looking for information, you're angry, you're upset that you didn't get the answers and accountability you wanted from the hospital, and you're looking at a mountain of bills piled up because your husband's crippled, or your wife, the chief breadwinner of the family, is dead. You need to think about those things and be thoughtful, because ultimately, attorney, as part of their looking at you, they're going to be looking not only at was there an error, was there damages here, but they're also going to look at how you come across. Because if ultimately they got to put you on the stand in front of the judge and the jury, they want to see how you come across. And are you going to come across as genuine and sincere, or are you just some hungry, some money-grubbing, greedy person? That's not going to be a winner. That's never a recipe for success in court. So you got to think about those things. And again, I'm sorry I'm so frank, but this is not time to mince words. So the lawyer is going to be evaluating you. You need to be evaluating the lawyer, the law firm. You need to literally interview these people. You need to decide if you like these people. Because if they take your case and you start to go through this process, including going all the way to court, you could potentially be spending a lot of time with these people. And you need to decide if you like them or if you don't. Because if you don't, that's not good for you. It's not good for them. So think about that. And the last thing to keep in mind is the business end of the equation. You've got to keep the business end of the equation in mind, because while personal injury law is a calling, as I said, for many of these attorneys, it is a business at the end of the day. And most medical malpractice personal injury lawyers operate on something known as a contingency fee. A contingency fee. What a contingency fee, what it is and what it says is generally the lawyer only gets paid and gets their expenses recouped if you win your case or if you get a settlement. And generally most contingency fees are 33 to 40% of the settlement. plus expenses. And a lot of times when you throw the expense on top, they can be approaching 50%. So, for example, if your case settles for $100,000, the lawyer might take 50 and only leave you with 50. Something to keep in mind. Now, there's upside and there's downside to these contingency fees. The upside is you don't have to bring money to go talk to the lawyer. And no matter how long the process goes, including if you get into trial and you're going through depositions, discovery, you go get into trial and all that stuff, you'll never receive a bill from the lawyer. They, as the old saying goes, they only collect if you collect, which is good because you can go into it with confidence knowing that you're not going to be stuck with a bill. And furthermore, if the case is lost, if the case gets dismissed or if the jury finds against you or if the lawyer drops the case, again, you don't own anything. The lawyer is out his time and money, but not you. So they only collect if you collect, which brings us to the downside. The downside is they're going to take a very sizable chunk of what your settlement or verdict is. Generally somewhere between 40 and 50%, which is their fee plus the expenses like the experts, printing, copying, all the other stuff, mileage, whatever. They're going to take 40 or 50%. And that's, to be frank, that's why sometimes families will try to forgo counsel. And that's why you hear hospitals that do disclosure and apology. Sometimes, if it's maybe a smaller or more minor case, they'll talk about being able to put more money in the hands of the patient or family if they don't have a lawyer involved, because they don't have to give that fee to the lawyer. They can get more money in the hands of this patient or family and still save money in the long run for them. But again, as I mentioned in an earlier video snippet, earlier parts of this book, if you're dealing with a crippling injury, life-changing injury, or a death of a breadwinner, or someone who provides significant child care, you really need to be represented, and so be it if you get if they take 40 or 50%. You really need to make sure, because they're going to build that in their calculations as they try to get you ultimately what they need. And the other thing you need to keep in mind as you think about what you need, any settlement, any verdict you receive is not taxable. It's generally not taxable. It's kind of treated like an insurance payout. It's not generally taxable at the state or federal level. So that's something to keep in mind, because a lot of times people think, oh, I got $100,000, well, I'm going to have to pay Uncle Sam, a third of that or 40% of that. Again, talk to your lawyer about that to receive confirmation, but that is generally the rule. The last thing to keep in mind is disclosure and apology becomes more prevalent in hospitals and insurance companies. If you have a case where it's a pretty clear-cut error and they're disclosing and apologizing, and they want to compensate you, but you want to be represented by counsel because you want to make sure you get that one bite at the apple right, you may be able to get the lawyer to do it on a reduced fee or even an hourly fee. Some lawyers are starting to do that, so that it reduces the amount of money going to the lawyer and leaves more for you and your family. So reviewing. It's a long video snippet. It's more than a snippet, but it's a lot of important information. Really encourage you to focus on getting a specialist, do some networking to find those specialists, have your case organized, think like a lawyer, think about the potential for an error, what the value of the damages are. Don't go in off the bat asking how much your case is worth, how much money you're going to get, are you going to get that beach house in Florida? Big turnoff. Don't do that. The lawyer is interviewing you. You got to sell yourself in your case, but they also need to sell yourself to you. Sell themselves to you. Do you like these people? Do they represent your values? And then, finally, don't forget the business end of the equation and think about all that. Good luck finding a lawyer.